You're listening to A Creative Excuse presented by Echo Amano. I'm Frank Rose.
And I'm Cara Duvall. This episode is with George Rodriguez, a ceramic sculptor based in Philadelphia.
We had a really great conversation with George about sharing your art, finding your voice, and inspiration versus appropriation.
George's solo show is on view at Echo through November 30th. It's amazing. Come out and see it. And we hope that you enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening.
One of my favorite chocolate memories is at a friend who worked at Theo's Chocolate in Seattle. Mm-hmm. And there's like a lot of cutoff or like scrap cutoff from the marshmallow chocolate.
Oh,
so it's like they roll a sheet of marshmallow and then there's chocolate on top of it and then they cookie cut the shapes. Mm-hmm. So it's only on the top that the chocolate is. Oh. So all the rest of the cutoff was just like rolled into a log and gifted.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was like a log of just like marshmallow chocolate. That was great.
Yeah, that's how it all goes downhill.
Yeah, it really does.
That's how you get the gingivitis. That's how,
all of it. Totally, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you just stop.
Well, do you?
I don't know.
Maybe you slow down a tiny bit.
Oh my gosh.
Well, George.
You're
here.
I'm here.
Hello.
Hi, here. Yeah, it's funny. I feel like I don't even remember when we first started chatting. I mean, a couple years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know. I was also trying to think, and it's been, I don't know when it started, but it feels like it. I just remember it's probably been a couple years because when we first corresponded, I was like, 2025, that's such a long time from now. How can I even start thinking about, like coming to Santa Fe and it's now. So,
yeah. And it's also just like, it's a trip just reaching out to somebody on Instagram. Like, I mean, like I hadn't ever seen your work in person, it was just sort of based on the images. And I don't know, it's just a funny part of doing these things these days. And you gotta trust your photo skills on Instagram.
Yeah. I remember you showing me the work, actually, and both of us were like, ooh, oh my God.
I need to work on my photography skills, but the ornamentation is kind of seductive online.
Totally
so it's just like, it's hard to tell maybe scale or, I don't know, density. I feel like my work has a density to it when you see it in person, like you can feel the weight. Mm-hmm. You can't see that online, but you can see all the ornamentation, and I think that people gravitate towards that.
Yeah, and you look at the work, and for me, I looked at the work and I was like, how much time goes into that, and the detail, and I love texture and color so much, and there's just so much of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we were oohing and on.
Yeah. Yeah.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah. So you grew up in El Paso.
Mm-hmm.
How long did you live there?
Oh, I was in El Paso until 2007. Mm-hmm. So I was probably in my, how old am I? That was in 25. Mm-hmm. So 25 years in El Paso. Mm-hmm. And I went to undergraduate school there. My family is from Chihuahua, so they came over into El Paso, and I just kind of like built my life there and didn't really imagine ever leaving El Paso. There's I think there's a mentality of you are like, for me, I was like around family. I enjoy being around my family. It's like some of my favorite time. So growing up there and like just working and making a living, I was like, oh, this is comfortable. I can totally see myself here. But I didn't see myself expanding past like the lens of what I knew El Paso to be, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then when I got into art school, then everything, like art school just like scrambles your brain, I think.
Yes, it does.
Any other family members making art?
You know, my sister bakes cakes and, you know, like cake decoration and things like that. My mother is a seamstress, so she used to make and sew dresses for my sisters. Those are kind of like the creative. Everyone is like a little bit creative, but no one's making like art in like the traditional art sense. My mother macrameed for a long time. She sold things at like swap meets and flea markets, so she would macrame, like sell that kind of work.
Do you think some of that influenced the textures in your work? Because it feels like that almost. Like it feels like there's this sewing, knitting, macrame quality.
Yeah, I mean, I think about that a lot. I don't know if it's the textures as much as the way that I actually construct everything. So as I'm building my work, I build with like slabs of clay, and then I'm darting and folding and moving things around, almost like creating garments. So I feel like a lot of the building is almost like creating costuming or garments.
And you are creating costumes and garments.
Yeah, totally.
Out of clay.
Yeah, for sure. So I think of my mother often when I'm kind of working that way.
And when you were younger, were you somebody that was drawn to like drawing or like doodling? Like where did you kind of like, if you can see like when you started like, ooh, I want to like make things?
Yeah, always drawing, always like art something, right? Coloring, drawing. I actually won my very first art contest in first grade, which I'm really proud of. And it was, what was it? It was like a bucking bronco in like a rodeo arena. So that's what I drew, right? And my first grade teacher at the time was like, "Oh, what if you add little clouds to the hooves so it really looks like active, right? So it looks like it's kicking up the dirt." And I was
How
like, "Okay,
cool
great."
is that?
Yeah, it was amazing. And she, you know, this teacher, Leonor Sal, like I don't know what she's up to, but I still remember her. And she, you know, she kind of like gave me some pointers, and then I won first place and got some tickets to the rodeo.
Nice.
That was my prize.
That's amazing. She was the first inspiration.
Yeah, totally.
Think out of the box.
Yeah. It was amazing. Yeah. And then I just kept like mostly drawing and a little bit of painting, all through high school. And then it wasn't until college that I took my first like 3D sculpture class.
And then, so between that, you said you went to art school. So was that your first experience with college, or did you start doing another track and then move into an art focused track?
No, I always kind of went into the art school, right? And like after getting my the basic foundational classes, then I moved into like an art track, and it was initially graphic design because. It's like, well, how do you make money going to art school?
Yeah, that's how I started too.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really in love with photography in high school, and that's exactly what was my thinking. So I declared it first as a graphic design major, and that only lasted, I think, a semester.
Same, you know. And I enjoyed it, and I love learning all these like, you know, whatever computer software, Illustrator, Photoshop, drafting, but it was. There was too many limitations for graphic design for me.
Yeah.
And once I decided to not do graphic design, you know, I had to take introductory classes to metals and sculpture and ceramics. And I actually took ceramics first just to kind of get it out of the way. And just had another like amazing teacher that just opened so many doors and showed me the possibilities of the material. But even before I decided to be like a BFA in clay, I switched to art education. Same thing. Like I need to like get a job when I get out of school. So, and I just kept spending all of my time in the ceramic studio, and just that's what, like, you know, so many hours in that studio.
How is this gonna work?
Yeah, exactly.
Keep on finding myself making the art, but yeah.
Yeah, totally. And it's just like, and time just like flew right by when I was in that space. So. Eventually, I broke it to my mother that I was gonna get a degree in ceramics.
How did she respond?
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah,
very supportive. Just like, She's like, as long as you finish, great. You know,
That's
that was
great.
that was a mentality. So
Yeah.
That's
Frank and I, we went to college together, and we both studied photography, and I would be there in the dark room until 2, 3 in the morning, just lost. It was wonderful. Yeah.
I love that. Those moments where you could just like, there's only whatever's in front of you to focus on, right? And everything else tends to fade away. Hunger, time, all of it's just like, and when you come out of that daze, you're like, what just happened?
And then you have something like, oh, that's what happened. I just made this 3-foot creature.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, for sure.
Do you find you can still get into that zone when you make?
Yeah, every now and then. A little less so,
Yeah.
just because I make more often. So it's hard to like, you know, and I'm also, I'm always making, right? And then I'm trying to, my schedule is just so busy that the time that I spend in my studio making, I know it's so valuable that I'm almost like counting the amount of time that I have. So, or what I'm going to sacrifice in order to like keep going, whether it's going to be sleep or, you know, seeing my partner, those types of things. So, so it's a little harder to get lost, but it still happens every now and then.
Yeah.
And making a living too with your work, like it adds another element of just, you know, pressure in life, you know, and when you're in school, you're not necessarily thinking that way.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, the more people, I don't know, acknowledge what you're doing, then there's the pressure of like, also being, I don't know, it's not even like, I don't know, how would I even say this? It's not catering to people at all, but it's just like, they put trust in me, and I want to make sure that what I keep putting out into the world is like, can continue to like garner their trust. Right. So
it's a relationship.
Yeah. And there's the refinement process. It's like, I think I ran into a friend who's been working on a book for a few years now, and I always run into them at a coffee shop, and they were saying that they were on the 4th edit of the book, and they cut all this stuff out, and it just that part of it, it's like there's the first initial inspiration and explosion. I think that happens a lot when we're younger. It's like, I'm gonna do this. You have this amazing vision come to you, and then as it becomes more of like a professional identity, there's this refinement that occurs, and that is its own kind of fire that you're put through. I think that's part of it. It's not like, whoa, I'm just exploding with ideas, but there's a real honing, and
I've had that conversation a couple times in the past few days, just around that dance of, you know, what does it mean to be a creative person, where, you know, the work that you're doing and putting out in the world does come from you and is marked by your vision, but, you know, it's not just operating in a vacuum, right? You're in relationship with the world, and especially if you're, you know, running a business, or if you're making your living off of your art, there's a relationship there, and there's a back and forth, and it's like a question of how do I fit into the structure that is existing here. You know, I may have qualms with the structure, but unless I'm going to go like live in a cave or something, like how do I work with this? You know, if I'm going to stay here and do this work, like how do you fit in the structure that's right there?
Yeah. And if we go, you know, if I'm thinking back to what you mentioned earlier about finding my work through like Instagram or online, then that's another thing that like puts a little bit of pressure into this this structure building, right? Like how much am I sharing of my practice? How much are people seeing like the process? Whereas before, very few folk, when I first started in school or a few years out of school, it's like social media wasn't as prevalent. So people weren't seeing like everything that I was doing, or, you know, they still aren't because I don't share everything. But now I have that added pressure of like, well, how much do I actually share? People are interested in this process, but I'm not ready. I'm still like vulnerable in this exploration that I'm not quite ready to share it. People enjoy that vulnerability. That now it's become another thing to consider in regards to like, yeah, how an added pressure maybe is what I'm trying to say.
I feel like that's a really fruitful and important questioning process, or what is it? Contemplative process, and for an art maker is like, why am I sharing what I'm sharing? Where is this coming from? And yeah, maybe it is like, because this is what people want, and that's fine. But but to just ask those questions, I think it's really, really important. Get clear. Yeah.
We're back online. So there was a break in recording. We're back.
We said all the most amazing things during that.
It was
period.
good audio. I was like,
man.
oh man.
Gosh.
I've never cried so much.
I think that's a really great point, though, is like, that sort of incubation time. You don't have anything to say yet. You've only lived 20 years, and, for that's not everybody, but for most people, they haven't lived enough years to like have a real understood, self-aware point of view.
Yeah. For the listeners that are in the mystery of what we were talking about, we were just talking about how the question was, do we feel like artists, but entrepreneurs in general, these days feel more pressure to get their work out there without really allowing it to stew, simmer, explore, discover what they actually want to say. And George said,
Oh, what did, yeah, I mean, I do think that there's a lot of pressure, just because we, we're taking chances initially and making work. And then if you put that out there, you're getting so much feedback, positive, negative. And there is this like pressure to keep producing, but also this pressure to just like continue with your first initial ideas. And it doesn't really allow for growth as much, because you're just like, you put your idea forward, you're getting so much unsolicited feedback a lot of times. And sometimes it just feels like you can be stuck there forever. Right. Yeah. So to take a risk and to take chances doing something different is just so much harder, because then you're going to alienate these folks that have supported your first idea, right? So, I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah. In our program, it was fairly conceptual, and they, really wanted us to, focus on a single body of work, which I understand, right? It's like working through ideas, doing iterations, understanding why you're drawn to one thing or the other. But what they did kind of allow for, which was great, is what I did was I would, make like a very small body of work, come up with like 10, 15 pieces and be like, okay, I'm starting something totally new and totally change tactics. And that was really helpful, I think, to just allowing for exploration while still kind of playing around with the idea of iterating an idea. But yeah, they, having to like, I don't know. I found that even in that program, they put a lot of pressure to be able to make sense of your ideas, which is hard, right? As a 19, 20-year-old, to like really clearly be able to express why you made a choice here and not there. Good skill to have, but when there's so much pressure to do it, like it can sort of like harm the impulsive creative drive, to just like, I don't know, I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that's really valuable to maintain.
Yeah. I feel like the way we grow is we play. And that, if we can't play and if we can't explore, then we become stunted and just repeat the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, and it's such a power for young artists to just have this confidence to just like make that decision because it's intuitive or it just feels right, without actually knowing, you know, what the reasoning behind it, but it's just like more of a feeling, right? And I've looked back at some like early work and I was like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Like I don't know where that came from, and I've looked back at early work and been like, that was also garbage, right? But there was some good stuff in it because it just like came from just because I wanted to make it, and I feel like a lot of young artists starting out, it's that play or it's that urge to just want to create that I think we end up losing once you start creating a style or getting too much feedback or just becoming more successful because then the money plays into even if you don't think it does, it comes into like your livelihood and what you want to make. So.
Yeah, I don't remember who gave this advice. I read it somewhere. Maybe it was Elizabeth Gilbert. But about getting stuck, you have your craft or you have your medium, and you get essentially writer's block or artist block, and they would do a completely different medium for a while to just kind of get the juices going again. So if you were an artist, if you're a visual artist, then maybe you would take a dance class or play an instrument and something like that. Yeah,
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I find that for me, collaboration really helps because then it's, I still feel comfortable. Maybe I'm not that much of a risk taker to take a dance class, but I still feel comfortable working within visual arts. And then I'll bring in another artist, and now we have to compromise in what we're making. And that, that gets the juices flowing because they're looking at the work differently than I would. And my ideas of how things would come together are never the way that they actually come together because now we have a another mind or two or whomever is like working. So collaboration, I'd love it.
And so how long did it take you to kind of settle on ceramics? Was it pretty quick, or did it take a while before you were like, I think this is my medium?
It was pretty quick, actually. I think what ended up happening was that ceramics was difficult. I had ideas and I couldn't quite model them the way that I was hoping to. So in undergrad, I took my first clay class and I made a self-portrait, and it's really funky looking thing. But I love that I could make like a figure. At the same time, I was taking painting, and with painting, I had more facility, like actually making a figure look like me or look like a human, right? I couldn't do that with clay. So when it came time to, I had a painting professor who was like, you should major in painting. But ceramics was way more difficult. So I was like, well, I should do that. Like I'm having fun in both of these classes, but I should do clay because I already feel a little more confident in painting. Now 20 years later, I'm like, I do not feel confident in painting whatsoever.
That's a very interesting decision. That is kind of unique. I don't know if a lot of people would have made that decision. Yeah, to go with the more difficult choice.
Yeah, because I felt like painting was always going to be like it's there, right? Like so I already not that I have the skill. There was more skills to like learn, but I already had movement in that direction. So I could always pick it up if I needed to. Whereas like my hands weren't doing what they needed to do with clay yet.
So part of it was about learning skills. It's like, what can I focus on where I can learn the most?
Yeah.
Sounds like.
And kind of like, I just felt challenged, and I was like, I need to figure this out, and I think that's how I started building large scale too, because I was like, well, now that I can make something that sits on a tabletop, it's like, well, how scaling up becomes way more difficult. And I was like, well, I want to try and do that. So, yeah.
And what were you making when you kind of settled into the ceramics? What kind of work were you making? What did it look like?
what did it look like? So I've made a lot of self-portraits in my in my life. And so a lot of them look like me-ish, right?
So it's kind of figurative from the beginning.
All figurative for the most part. Looking at classical figures, like Western, classical, Greek, Roman figures, and trying to mimic some of that. Looking at funk ceramics from the West Coast mostly, and trying to mimic some of those figurative artists. But it was all figurative. I was really just interested in the human condition and how we kind of relate to other people. So it was all the figures were, a lot of self-portraits, and it was like, how do I fit into this world? What can I say? Because at that point in my education and artistic journey, I wasn't very vocal. Like I knew how to make things, but I was shy. I didn't like to talk very much. So I could talk with my sculptures, and I could say things that I just didn't feel confident enough to like verbalize. So, yeah.
I think that's really common amongst visual artists. I remember in college when we would have critique day, and the teacher would be like, "Okay, talk about your work."
Pulling teeth.
It was like pulling teeth. You'd see people crumpled up in the corner, just eyes downcast.
Cricket, and it's just like, I know it's difficult. It's hard. It's so vulnerable, right?
Before I was in photography, I was actually a theater major, and at one point, I decided I had to leave theater, but I came back to it. But at that point, I was like, I can't stand theater people. I have to leave. And I went into photography, but it was just night and day, because in theater it's just constant, like, pay attention to me, pay attention to me, pay attention to me. And then I'd go over to the visual arts. It's like, do not look at me. Do not look at me. Yeah.
I know. It's my partner's in theater, so I very much I know that, that dynamic where it's like when she invites me to a like a theater event where there's friends or there's just people that are in that world, and I am way more confident now, and I can be in those spaces. But the ease in which people are like sharing, being with each other, just like, oh man, it's it's hard. It's hard.
But strangely, I was telling someone recently, and I was like, the idea of putting up work on the wall and having people walk around, or put a ceramics piece on a pedestal, people walk around and look at it. That is terrifying to me. That feels like, ooh, raw, vulnerable. Just something, yeah.
What can you elaborate? Like why that's so terrifying for you?
I think, well, what came to mind just now is sounds horrible, but there's no way I can manipulate that situation at all. I can't smile. I can't make a joke. Nothing. Like, they're going to have their judgment, opinion regardless. And that's that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I would say that maybe I'm a little delusional, but I'm like, when I put a painting or an object out and people are looking at it, even though it's me that created it, that put all like energy and thoughts, it's not actually me.
Mm-hmm.
So there's enough separation to just be like, well, this one section is not working. This one like component is not working, and it's not really a reflection of me, even though it is. And I realize that, but I can there's enough separation to be like, okay, well, they don't mean this about me. It's just they're talking about this object.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
so funny.
Yeah, even if it makes me sad, or happy or whatever. It's just like, well, it wasn't actually me.
Both justifications we make.
Yeah,
It's funny.
Yeah, I mean, we could get meta here. I don't know if we can use that word anymore, but
I'll bleep it out.
Okay, great. In some ways, it's like you know, this is also not us too.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, like you said, the persona that we craft together.
Mm-hmm.
We could say this, that, whatever they judge, that's not me. They didn't see me.
Yeah. I use that a lot when I get grant rejection. So
Yeah.
They didn't see me clearly.
exactly.
And then so after undergrad, did you go to grad school?
I did. So once I decided to, major in ceramics, I was like, well, what am I doing with a ceramics degree? I decided to pursue grad school
Immediately?
I took a year to build a portfolio to just buff up my portfolio. So it was actually probably closer to 6-7 months before I started applying. But yeah, just because I was like, well, I'll need to get a job. And if I have a master's degree, there's more potential that I could still teach at higher ed. So that was the initial reasoning. And my professor, friend, mentor at that time, Vince Burke, he just said grad school is a great time to just fully concentrate on your practice. So it's you can get there over many years, but it's concentrated time for you to just focus. So if you want to grow, you should go to grad school. Yeah, and I ended up in Seattle at the University of Washington.
And your undergrad was in El Paso?
In El Paso, yeah.
And when did you get up to Seattle?
That was in 2007. Yeah, I graduated 2006 from undergrad. Yeah, and it was great. I made a piece in El Paso that was titled "Ring Around the Rosie," and it was a portrait of me with 5 artists that I sculpted, and we were playing "Ring Around the Rosie" in a field of posies. And it was great. It was these artists that I admired that I didn't know, but I was like, well, we're gonna be friends, so I'm gonna make us be friends.
Yeah.
And I ended up going
spellcast.
Yeah, totally. And I've met every single, I've become friends with every single one of them at this point. And one of those people, Akio Takamori, was my professor in graduate school. So I ended up choosing that program because he was teaching there.
Oh, that's awesome. So. And how was Seattle? How did you kind of move into that city, and how did you find it?
Yeah, Seattle's a little different than El Paso.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went into an graduate arts program, so it was just easy to actually move into school. Since I didn't take a lot of time off, I was still just going to school. So that transition was pretty easy. I had no place I loaded up a truck full of just an apartment, and then I drove to Seattle without a place to live. Slept in the truck for a couple days, and then found an apartment, a shared bedroom with some folks. And that was it. And then I just spent all my time in the studio. So that was a pretty easy transition. People always joked with me that I would get depressed in Seattle because of the weather and the gray and the rain, but I was just in the studio all the time. So for the first 2 years, I had, I was enjoying the green and the lushness of it, but there was no depression because there was no time.
Right.
Right. You're too busy to be depressed.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. We lived in Seattle for a moment, but I did get depressed.
You got yeah. I mean, it's real.
It's real. Yeah. It's real. But it is so green.
Yeah.
It's so lush.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I spent 8 years there when I was a kid. I didn't really know any different. So I was in Alaska before that, and it's pretty gray there too. So, it was kind of just oh, this is normal. One thing that was a real difference, the first year I moved there's a big snowstorm in the winter, and it snowed 6, 7, 8 inches, a lot for Seattle. And for me it was they closed school, and I was why are they closing school? What's going on? And they just for me it was just this is normal. And nobody, and I lived in this apartment complex that had all these hills, and nobody had sleds. And so I took trash bags and passed them out to all the kids in the neighborhood, and we cut holes for arms and just like flung ourselves down the hills.
Oh,
Great.
I love that. Oh, I love that. Yeah. Just in regards to the snow, there was also like a big storm when I first moved there, maybe in like the winter of 07 or early 08, and everything was shut down, and there was an arborist like around our neighborhood who had a really small motorbike with a like a rope tow on it, and one of my roommates had a snowboard, so we just like hopped on a snowboard. Nice. And like this guy was just like pulling us through the streets. It was great. It was so great because the whole city just shut down.
Yeah,
it was wonderful.
Yeah,
they don't know what to do. Yeah.
Has your work always had playfulness in it? I'm just talking about Ring Around the Posy. I'm thinking, and a lot of the pieces upstairs, they do have some dark elements to it, but all of them have some like poking kind of playful energy as well.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like that the humor plays such a big part of what brings joy in my like making practice. So I want to make sure that it's in there. It's left for several years, and now in the last couple years it's starting, either 2 or this year, I don't know, it started coming back, and that's just because it's so hard out in the world that I need that in my studio again in order to just like cope, right? So I need that in my artistic practice, and I also want to put it out into the world. But I think in 2016 it kind of like that pivoted to my work being a little bit more political, and before that there was still a lot of like just humor within it, and I think that's a direct reference to the funk ceramics movement, because that type of work was always like tongue-in-cheek, poking fun at something, and I really gravitated towards that type of work.
Yeah, there's power in that for sure.
Yeah, it's disarming. If people can kind of laugh, they're not coming in guarded anymore, right? You kind of open up a little bit, and I think some of the ornamentation does that too. It just like it makes people wonder like how much time it took, how it was created. And if you're coming in with that lens, you're not focused so much on being preached to about a certain like topic, right? Not that I think my work is preachy, but it does have something to say.
Yeah. Coming in through the lens of curiosity, getting a person curious is way better.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And it just like casts a wider net too, right? Like if you're coming curious with these, with humor or ornamentation, you open that door for a lot of different types of people, right? Instead of just like the art viewing audiences, which I have definitely been in those worlds where it's like to go into a gallery space sometimes where you're like, is this actually for me? Because it doesn't feel accessible. And I think humor and decoration make things a little more accessible.
Yeah.
For sure. When you finished grad, what came after that?
Yeah, so I got an amazing travel fellowship right before graduating grad school. It's called the Bonderman Travel Fellowship. It might be an endowment now. I'm not quite sure. But it took me to about 26 countries in 10 and a half months.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Wow.
So right after grad school, I went into a residency for 6 months, and then I traveled for a year on this fellowship. And, I hadn't really left the U.S. very much, besides a little bit of like travels in Mexico, like the border, and in Vancouver in Canada. But yeah, I ended up like solo travel for about 10 and a half months, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
Is this where Lima happened?
This is where Lima happened. This is definitely where Lima happened.
Last night at the opening, I just was eavesdropping on a conversation with George and Gloria and I'm gonna blank. Miguel. And I really don't know what you were talking about at all, but It was just about your fear of going to Lima by yourself.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to talk about this. We're going to bring this on.
Well,
Taxis at 1 a.m.
Oh, geez. Well, the thing is that I love people. Like, I absolutely love people, and I trust people, and I believe people. And when you ask for advice, sometimes people will not give you the best advice. Because I was curious about like traveling to Lima, especially never really having traveled before, and that's a pretty big jump from like leaving the States going to Peru. And people were just like telling me, don't get in taxis because they're gonna kidnap you and they're gonna take you and they're gonna just steal all your money. And like, and I heard it from a couple folks, so I was like so nervous going there. And my plane, when I landed, it was about 1 a.m. So I was like, well, this is my poor planning too, that I didn't book any like hostel hotel. And like, I just landed the same way I went to grad school. I was going to get there and then I would find a place to stay. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got there and I had my Blue Planet like guidebook. And that also said only get in sanctioned taxis. And I got there at 1 a.m. and I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. There's some people sleeping on these benches. I'm tired. I'm going to just like stay at the airport till morning. And I just like slept I hugged my backpack and I just slept at the airport on a bench until the sun came out. And then eventually I got into a taxi and they dropped me off in a neighborhood and I wandered around until I found a hostel.
Yeah. And you're here.
And I'm still here.
To tell
yeah.
the tale.
Did you have like any specific intention when you went into this? Like, okay, I'm going to go a year and travel. Was it just like, or was it just open? Let's just take in the experience.
There was some intention, right? Because I wrote a proposal to get funding for all of this. And, and that's the only reason like I could do the travel, right? This fellowship basically paid my way. And so I think the reason I wanted to go to Peru was to see some of the pre-Columbian pottery that was there. There's, a lot of like beautiful pots, and then there's these like sex pots that are around there that are just like really like funky, cool, crazy. And so I really wanted to go to Peru specifically to see like some of the pottery there. I wrote about Japan.
Porno pots? Is it porno pots?
A little bit. Yeah. Just like, like animals having sex with each other, people having sex with animals, people having sex with other people. Like, it was just like these crazy, like amazing pots. So I went to, and they have also pots where people are not having sex with each other. It's just like, they also have these like, not boring pots, but regular pots.
Regular pots.
But I went to this one museum in the city of Trujillo, and I walked in, and I'm just like looking around at like stacks of pottery because they're just like laid out on shelves. I'm just like looking around. And, I don't want to tell anybody what I'm looking for, but I'm just like looking at all these pots. And not an usher, what do they call it? Like like a person that like shows around the museum.
Right. Yeah, there's a word for that.
A docent.
A docent.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes. The docent came and was like, how are you doing? And I'm like, oh, I'm doing good. And they're like, you're looking for the sex pots. I was like, wow. Yes, I am. And they were behind a curtain.
Wow.
They kept them behind a curtain. So then she opened up the curtain and they were there. And then I was like looking at these pots.
That's awesome.
And I asked her, like, why are they behind a curtain? And she just said that there's a lot of like, Catholic schools that go and look at these pots, so they keep them behind because the nuns don't want to see them. So but
it's understandable.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she knew I was there. So
can you list all the countries you went to?
Oh man, Peru, Chile, Argentina, Mexico, Canada. I'm trying to go in order in places. Tokyo, South Korea. And then I went to Italy, Bosnia, Montenegro, Serbia, Ukraine, Bulgaria. what else is around there? Greece, Turkey, Egypt, China, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, Taiwan. I don't know if I missed any.
And was it primarily to look at pots?
No.
No.
So, when I traveled around, so I wanted to go to Japan to see that Japan has an amazing like pottery tradition, but I wanted to go see cherry blossoms. That's what I wrote in my proposal. I heard that there were mountains covered in cherry blossoms, and I wanted to experience that. I met somebody in Seoul that he was on like sabbatical from his job, and he said, I have my Mini Cooper and I'm going to travel around the Balkans. I'd never planned to be in the Balkans, but we met for a couple of days. He's like, fly to Italy, I'll pick you up and we can travel around. And I was like, okay. So then I ended up just flying to Milan. He picked me up in Trieste, and we ended up like driving around the Balkans for a month and a half.
Wow.
And that was not planned at all, but it was just like magical.
Mm-hmm.
And that whole trip, like I booked a couple places in advance, but for me, it was just like going with the flow and trying to figure out what made sense in the travels, and trying to live as cheaply as possible so that I could be out in the world as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It was like this happened in 2010, right? So 15 years ago now, and I still have such clear memories of a lot of that trip. Even like street names, names of these cities, like people I met. Like it was such a vivid experience, and still influences a lot of how I live and make in the world. So
yeah, it's a very kind of surreal. I would imagine it's a very surreal experience to be on your own in some ways. I mean, you met this person, you meet people, but you're still kind of solo for almost a year, and just with your thoughts. And how was that?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's like I kept a journal. I was bored a lot, which was great because I would just sit and look. I got comfortable just like sitting in places and like just being in a place without anything to do, really. I met some amazing people along the way. I took up smoking for that year because that was a way to like socialize, right? So I was like, okay, if I'm, like people are just like hanging around smoking, I'm like, I guess I'm gonna smoke this year. And I don't know, it was pretty easy. When I got, there was a time that I got sick in China, and it was around my birthday. And at that point, I was like, well, what am I, like, why am I here by myself? What am I doing? But those were very few moments that happened. Most of the time, I was just, like, happy to be out in the world, just absorbing everything that I experienced.
Was it the straight through, or did you take some time coming back home and then go to other places?
No, straight through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was part of the stipulations of the grant. It's it was, like, 2 different parts of the world for at least 6 months minimum, and to like westernized countries, right?
Yeah.
So I couldn't go to like Western Europe or Australia. I opted into Canada just because that was that was a connection. So then I was able to spend a couple days there while I connected somewhere else.
What kind of who generally gets this grant? Is it artists?
No, so it's a grant through the University of Washington, and at that point, I don't know what their rules are now, but they were giving 6 grants to undergraduate students in the honors program, and then 6 grants to graduate students in the whole university. So I just applied, and without expectations, and they gave me one.
Wow!
And at that point, it was $20,000. I know that it's more now, but that I think that was also why they wanted you to stay to non-Western countries, because the money would just like stretch a little bit further as well.
Sure.
And different experiences too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm thinking about the show now at the gallery. I mean, you're working with, ornamentation, costuming from traditions that are not your own. I know that there's there's a lot of conversation around, what is appropriation, what is appreciation, what is, what are all these things, in light of, your own experience and your own culture. Are those things that you think about when you're working with other traditions?
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. And I want to make sure that I'm respectful when I'm working with traditions outside of my own cultural upbringing, but also within like my culture. Like I want to be
Yeah.
respectful with that as well. Um, yeah, I mean, I think about appropriation all the time. Like, who am I to like be utilizing Bolivian imagery in my work, right? But I think it's a form of education. Like if I'm using that type of imagery, I'm learning about what some of the symbolism means, what the characters mean, like where they come from. So I'm trying to get educated on the background so that then I could share it respectfully.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be different than if I'm just using imagery without knowing any of the any of the symbolism or descriptors of what that imagery is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean it's tricky. I felt for me it was it's a sensitive balance. I made these monkey masks at one point that were based on monkey masks that I saw in Japan, and the ones that I saw were very like cartoony and playful, and I made them slightly different. And when I exhibited those masks, an Indian couple came up to me and they're like, "Oh, these are amazing. They remind us of home." And I'm like, "Oh, well, like what I was thinking about was like this imagery that I saw in Japan." And they're like, "Oh, that's great. This actually is like imagery that we also live with in India." So I like that connection where they're ambiguous enough, where they're referencing a specific culture in my mind, but they really are like multi and cross-cultural.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I experienced when I was traveling. It's like a lot of the imagery that we associate with one thing has actually been used in many, many different parts of the world.
Well, it's interesting that of demonio. The first time I saw it, I was like, "Oh, samurai." That was like the first thing that I thought of, and so it was cool to hear you talking about a very specific procession.
Mm-hmm.
This Virgen de Candelaria.
Yeah. So I saw that. I experienced that procession in Puno, Peru. So I was there just along my travels, and I was like, man, there's so many crates of beer out on the streets. It's just like crates and crates of like large liter beers, right? And there were so many, and I started talking to some locals, and they're like, "Oh yeah, there's gonna be a parade tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh great, I'll be around." And these big gorilla costumes were coming down the street, and these like beautifully dressed people in like these dresses just like dancing along the streets, and then these like demons that had again really elaborate big costumes with horns and like big noses, and they're bug-eyed, and it was really kind of impactful imagery and a fun party. And then I went to Thailand many months after, and I was in Bangkok, and I went to one of the temples, and in front of the temple was two large Hanuman figures, and they looked exactly like those demons.
Mm-hmm.
The ornamentation was a little different. It was mosaic and not just like a moving costume, but a lot of the features were the same. And I clocked that, but I didn't like think anything of it until many years after. I'm like still thinking about my experience.
Yeah. Well, it's like thinking about where do these images come from, in the psyche.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like oftentimes they come from nature and looking at plants and looking at flowers and looking at insects and looking at the way animals move. And it's like if two places have not even like the similar, the same animals, but they're kind of taking that into their psyche in the same way, then the imagery that comes out could very well be similar.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, like Peru and Thailand seem so distant from each other, but there's something that, I guess like where in nature or where in the psyche is at.
Yeah. I had a client yesterday or 2 days ago. They were going crazy about peacock spiders. Do you know about peacock spiders?
No.
Oh my God. So they're like, I'm so sorry, I can't concentrate, essentially, because I'm thinking about peacock spiders because they watched these videos. They were like watching all these YouTube videos of these spiders. And she sent me some of these videos, and then I sent them to Frank. I sent them to other. But it's just, it's mind blowing. It's like these tiny, they're as big as a grain of rice, and they do these crazy elaborate dances, and they like stick up this back kind of feather looking thing that has like all these different patterns, and it shakes and it moves. And I was just thinking, it's like this goes into our psyche, and then it comes out in these wonderful ways.
Totally.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have to
Look
binge
up,
some YouTube.
everyone listening, look up,
Look up the
peacock
peacock
spider.
spiders.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, we're going to the
slow round.
slow
Ooh,
round.
Okay. Great.
Okay, you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
So we have a list. You just pick which one feels like the right question.
Yeah, no, I'm going to pick a number,
Oh.
1 through 10.
Oh, 7.
Oh, we talked about this already.
Oh, 3.
Okay. It was, what do you do when you get stuck?
Oh.
Okay, it just says role of art in society. What do you think the role of art in society
I went
is?
from 7 to 3.
What do you,
okay.
do you want to go back to what do you do when you get stuck?
Yeah, totally. I'm like, I'm stuck on this
we
question.
didn't actually talk about what you do personally when you get stuck.
Well, you kind of mentioned it, but you didn't go in depth.
I didn't go in
mean,
depth.
either what is the role of art in society, or
Yeah.
what do you do when you get stuck?
You know, I like the role of art in society. I can talk about both,
Okay.
maybe in the same question. But I thought that was funny because I'm like, I'm stuck on that question. I was like, how do I
Yeah.
navigate that? What is it? What do I think the role of art in society is? What an amazing.
What society?
Yeah, what an amazing question.
What is art?
Yeah.
What is society?
Oh,
Go.
man. You know, like, oh, geez.
It's slow. Just a slow, easy question
Yeah,
for you.
really. More and more, I've been looking at like what has withstood the test of time in terms of like visual imagery that that has persisted, even beyond like master painters of the Renaissance, and it's like this statuary and like funerary objects and that type of creation of objects that are meant to, that are beautifully presented, but are also meant to communicate a feeling, a timestamp, something like that. So I feel like the role of art is to, in society, is to
In society.
is to just like expand on, give give freedom to. It's like everything that wants to come out of my mouth feels so cheesy.
What is the?
Be cheesy.
Yeah, be large, giant.
Well, I
Oh,
think
man.
art is so fundamental, right? And I think oftentimes when we talk about things that are fundamental to like humanness or beingness, like they can kind of sound cliche because they come up in everything.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're actually like really, really important. Like love yourself and your neighbor. Like that. I mean, that can sound cheesy, but it's like
That's pretty basic.
it's pretty basic
Yeah.
and like important.
Totally. Yeah. It just, I mean, I couldn't agree more. And it's just it's so ingrained in like everything that we do, right? Just art, the way that you dress and present yourself to people, to, what I'm doing is like creating objects. And really, I feel like a lot of my artistic practice is building community. So I'm making these objects, but it's like, how do you gather people? And that can move into, it could be labeled many different things, but I do think of it as like part of an artistic practice to just like engage and listen and gather community. And I think with what art can do is just expand your view of the world and kind of make make us more tolerant, make us more curious, and just make us like wonder what more. Yeah.
Is there anything in your practice that you're trying to figure out right now?
Ooh.
What do you do when you get stuck, George?
Yeah, exactly. I don't get stuck. Is that weird to say?
No.
Not
because
at
I
all.
don't get stuck.
Talk about that
I
more.
have too many ideas and not enough time. So I just like, and it's and I have a sketchbook and I have a lot of curiosities and other materials, and I think that's something that I want to do and move towards. Like, I'm really interested in public sculpture, and I want people to be able to engage my artwork without having to. I want them to come upon it and not have to go to a destination to like try and see it, right? So I have a lot of ideas based on what I would do in regards to like making public sculpture, but I also have a lot of ideas, and more keep coming. And with the show that we have here, La Vida Carnaval, there's more figures that I'd want to create, and I may or may not get to making them because the next idea will come, and I'd like to create groupings or like a body of work that's a grouping. So if another character for Vida Carnaval comes by, I'm like, is it your time now, or have I moved on to something else? Because there's not a lack of I don't get stuck.
Well, then a follow-up to that, it's also on the list, is there like a specific sensation that comes up for you, whether in the body or in feeling and mind, that lets you know you're on the right track?
Yeah, I'm laughing when I'm making the work.
Nice.
Yeah. Like that's
great.
a key. It's like if I'm laughing to myself, I must look like a crazy person, but I'm building and I'm just like laughing at these things that I'm doing.
That's
either because
beautiful.
Like the sculpture's making me laugh, or what my thoughts as I'm making it are making me laugh. Like I know I'm on the right track.
I love that.
Yeah,
Love that.
Okay, I've got the list.
You've got the list.
all right.
Give me another number.
Ooh, number 1.
Number 1.
Are you sure
No.
you want to do this pick a number game?
I
Why don't
love
you-
it.
Okay.
No, yeah,
Okay.
it's great. It's good. I like games. Games are fun.
No, this one's a little easier. We already talked about it. Your phone is acting crazy, Frank. Okay. Stop it. It's moving on its own volition.
Oh.
Where does creativity come from? Where does creativity come from?
Oh, everywhere. Where doesn't it come from?
Peacock spiders.
Totally, for sure. Like conversations, bar conversations. It's just like I've had so many talks with friends and they'll just say something like peacock spiders, and then that'll get my mind rolling, and then things will just come up.
You had it recording your voice, and so it was typing what you were saying.
Nice. See?
There
Like
you
this.
go.
It recorded the whole answer that you gave.
Oh, good. You should play that back to make sure that I am on the right track. I don't know. Looking at going to museums is really I think there's a lot of creativity when you look at what artists have already made. I love copying things. It's like this person had an idea. I like that same idea. I'm gonna copy it and try and either voice it in my words or expand on it or just like learn something from it. Music. So much music.
Yeah. Right now, at our house, we have a robin. Do you remember what a group of robins are called, Frank? It's like a posse or something. I don't know. Every morning there's about 40 to 50 robins at our house.
It's a big posse.
Yeah, and they are crazy. They fly into the windows.
No.
They're just like and I get so much inspiration just sitting in my chair watching all of this happen out there. It's
They're really frenetic.
they're
just
so frenetic.
Chasing each other, playing in the fountain, flying around. I mean, and there's so many. And when you go out, I went outside this morning and just listening in just the surrounding area. I mean, they're everywhere around our house. So like if there's 50 by our house, there's thousands around the neighborhood. I mean, they're just
Oh, cool.
flocking.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, it made me think of The Birds by Hitchcock.
Yeah.
And I thought, is this where he got his idea? You know, like he was just sitting around and there were thousands of birds and that thought, like, what if? What would happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, any number, like any like large quantity of animal around you, it's like you feel your humanity when you're around them, right? It's just like, oh man, look at all these squirrels around me. It's just like, oh no, or whatever. You know, it could be anything. Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. Look at all these squirrels.
They're doing their own thing in a way that it's incomprehensible. And you're just like, whoa, there's like 50 robins just freaking out around the house.
Yeah.
Is there a piece of art or a project that made you see the world in a different way? That kind of changed how you saw XYZ?
That made me see my world in a different way.
Sure.
Because, so like Luis Jimenez, who's is an amazing artist, passed away, like, but he was from El Paso. Like, I think he was born in El Paso. So knowing that and seeing his work in a book initially and then seeing it in person was like, oh man, I can make art too. Like, he's from this place. So I think the first time that I saw his Man on Fire piece was just like, oh, like this is a thing that I've been looking at, that art historians have been talking about, and it's this person. So he changed my world and just like letting me know that it was possible, right? So yeah, and most recently, like Ai Weiwei's Circle of Animals, which are these large bronze zodiac heads, because they embody like history and narrative and politics. And when I saw those pieces, it just spurred like a lot of creativity in the way that he was, the way that he was making artwork that was socially conscious, but also beautifully crafted.
That's cool. Yeah, we were lucky to have a few Jimenez pieces on our campus.
Yeah.
At U of H.
Yeah, one of our photography teachers spoke highly.
She was his assistant.
Yeah.
Wow.
Delilah Montoya.
She lives in Albuquerque now.
Yeah. Yeah, she was actually talking about great teachers. She was one of the great teachers I had that really inspired me.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this show, Delilah Montoya.
I know, we haven't run into her since we haven't. Lived here. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you, George. This is awesome. I'm so happy that we've got your work here, and it'll be up through the end of November. And cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. It's nice to be, this place feels so familiar, even though it's my first time here. So, yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right.
Ah, let's look at some peacocks.
I want to see them.